Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my continuation of my book reading of Stephen King's Later. Here we go. Liz gave her a look that said enough already, but my mother continued. He just finished it, and a million of people will want to read it. I felt it my duty to make sure they get the chance. The cops didn't seem all that interested, but they were here to look at the room where Mr. Thomas had died. Also to make sure the people who had been observed on the grounds had a good reason to be there. I believed he died in his study, Mom said, and pointed towards La Petite Maison. Uh-huh, one of the cops said. That's what we heard. We'll check it out. He had to bend down with his hands on his knees to get FaceTime with me. I was pretty shrimpy in those days. What's your name, son? James Conklin. I gave Mr. Thomas a pointed look. Jamie. This is my mother. And I took her hand. Are you playing hooky today, Jamie? Before I could answer, Mom cut in, smooth as silk. I usually pick him up when he gets out of school, but I thought I might not get back in time today, so we swung by to get him. Didn't we, Liz? Roger that, Liz said. Officers, we didn't check the study, so I can't tell you if it's locked or not. Housekeeper left it open, with the body inside. The one who talked to me said, but she gave me her keys, and we'll lock up after we have a quick look around. You might tell them there was no foul play, Mr. Thomas said. I had a heart attack, hurt like the devil. I'm going to tell them no such thing. I was only 9, but that didn't make me stupid. Is there also a key to the gate? Liz asked. She was being all pro now, because it was open when we arrived. There is. I will lock it when we leave, the second cop said. Good move parking your car there, detective. Liz spread her hands as if to see it was all in a day's work. If you're set, we'll get out of your way. The cop who had spoken to me said, we should know what the valuable manuscript looks like, so we can make sure it's safe. This was a ball my mother could carry. He sent the original to me just last week, on a thumb drive. I don't think there's another copy. He was pretty paranoid. I was, Mr. Thomas admitted. His shorts were thinking again. Glad you were here to keep an eye out, the second cop said. He and the other one shook hands with Mom and Liz, also with me. Then they started down the gravel path to the little green building where Mr. Thomas had died. Later on, I found out a whole lot of writers died at their desk. Must be a type A occupation. Let's go, champ, Liz said. She tried to take my hand, but I wouldn't let her. Go stand over by the swimming pool for a minute, I said. Both of you. Why? Mom asked. I looked at my mother in a way I don't think I ever had before. As if she was stupid. And right then, I thought she was being stupid. Both of them were. Not to mention, rude as fuck. Because you got what you wanted, and I need to say thanks. Oh my god, Mom said, and slapped her brown again. What was I thinking? Thank you, Regis, so much. Mom was directing her thank you to a flower bed, so I took her hand and turned her. He's over here, Mom. She said another thank you, to which Mr. Thomas didn't respond. He didn't seem to care. Then she walked over to where Liz was standing by the empty pool, lighting another cigarette. I didn't really need to say thank you, but then I knew that people don't give much of a shit about things like that. But I said thanks anyway. It was only polite, and besides, I wanted to say something else. My mom's friend, I said. Liz. Mr. Thomas didn't reply, but he looked at her. She still mostly thinks I'm making it up about seeing you. I mean, she knows something weird happening, because no kid could make up that whole story, by the way. I loved what happened to George Treadgill. Thank you. He deserves no better. But she'll work it around in her head, so in the end, she got it in the way she wants it. She will rationalize. If that's what you call it. It is. Well, is there any way you can show her you're here? I was thinking about how Mr. Burkett scratched his cheek when his wife kissed him. I don't know, Jimmy. Do you have any idea what comes next for me? I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas, I don't. I suppose I'll find out for myself. He walked towards the pool, where he never swim again. Someone might fill it with it when warm weather returned, but by then he would be long gone. Mom and Liz were talking quietly and sharing Liz's cigarette. One of the things I didn't like about Liz was how she got my mother smoking again. Only a little, and only with her, but still. Mr. Thomas stood in front of Liz, drew in a deep breath, and blew it out. Liz didn't have bangs to blow on. Her hair was pulled back tight, and tied in a ponytail, but she still slid her eyes the way you will when the wind guts in your face, and recalled. She would have fallen into the pool, I think, if Mom hadn't grabbed her. I said, "Did you feel that?" Stupid question, of course. She had. That was Mr. Thomas, who was now walking away from us, back towards his study. "Thanks again, Mr. Thomas," I called. He didn't turn, but raised a hand to me before putting it back in the pockets of his shorts. I was getting excellent view of his plumber's crack, that's what Mom called it, when he spotted a guy wearing low-riding jeans. And if that's also too much information for you, too bad. We made him tell us, in 1 hour, everything it had taken him months of thinking to come up with. He couldn't say no, but maybe that gave him the right to show us his ass. Of course, it was the only one who could see it. I was the only one who could see it. It's time to talk about Liz Dutton. Should check it out. Check her out. She was about 5'6", my mom's height, with shoulder-length black hair, when it wasn't yanked back in her cop-approved ponytail. That was. And she had what some of the boys in the 4th grade class could call, as if they had any idea what they were talking about, a smoking hot bod. She had a really great smile and gray eyes that were usually warm, unless she was mad, that is. When she was mad, those gray eyes could turn as cold as a sleety day in November. I liked her because she could be kind, like when my mouth and throat were so dry that she gave me what's left of that Burger King Coke without me having to ask her. My mother was just fixating on getting the ins and outs of Mr. Thomas' unwritten last book. Also, she would sometimes bring me a Matchbox car to add to my growing collection, and once in a while would get right down on the floor beside me and would play together. Sometimes she gave me a hug and ruffled my hair. Sometimes she tickled me until I screamed for her to stop, and I peed myself, which she called watering my jockeys. I didn't like her because sometimes, especially after our trip to Cobblestone Cottage, I'd look up and catch her studying me like I was a bug on a slide. There was no warmth in her grey eyes then. Only she'd tell me my room was a mess. Which in fairness it usually was, although my mom didn't seem to mind. "It hurts my eyes," Liz would say. Or, "Are you going to live that way all your life, Jamie?" She also thought I was too old for the nightlight. But my mother put an end to that discussion, just saying, "Leave him alone, Liz. He'll give it up when he's ready." The biggest thing? She stole a lot of my mother's attention and affection that I used to get. Much later, when I read some of the Freud theories in a sophomore psych class, it occurred to me that as a kid, I had a classic mother fixation, seeing Liz as a rival. Well, duh. Of course, I was jealous, and I had a good reason to be. I had no father, didn't even know who the fuck he was, because my mother wouldn't talk about him. Later, I found out she had good reason for that. But at the end, all I knew was that it was you and me against the world, Jamie. Until Liz came along, that was. I remember this. I didn't have a whole lot of mom even before Liz, because mom was too busy trying to save the agency after she and Uncle Harry got fucked by James Mackenzie. I hated that he and I had the same first name. Mom was always mining for gold in the slush pile, hoping to come across another Jane Rowlands. I would have to say that liking and disliking were pretty evenly balanced on the day we went to Cobblestone Cottage, with liking slightly ahead for at least 4 reasons. Matchbox cars and trucks were not to be sneezed at. Sitting between them on the sofa and watching The Big Bang Theory was fun and cozy. I want to like who my mother liked. Liz made her happy. Later, there it is again, not so much. And with that, I'm gonna stop it here for this continuation of that book reading of Stephen King's Later. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.